going on, everybody? Thank you for tuning into this episode of Robert Garcia Unfiltered. Before we get started, if you missed our last episode talking about Bam versus Gallo, head on over to my channel, KO Kristy, and you'll see me and my dear Robert talking about it.
I'll put the link in the bio.
Yeah, and put the channel because a lot of people can't find the channel.
Okay.
And also briefly talking about that, I know some fans wanted to know your perspective on the whole glove situation before the fight. So if you want to talk about it a little bit.
Yeah, it was I think not most people, but like the hardcore, people that are in boxing, everybody knows that whenever it's a title fight, and honestly in some states it doesn't even have to be a title fight. As long as one team wants to watch the hand wrap of the other team, they have the option to do that, especially in world title fights. So it was just something that was, it was brought up at the rules meeting. I didn't know who said it or whatever, but it was somebody from their team. And, we just agree that when we're in the locker rooms, there's always a commissioner in the locker room with us. And we tell them, can you let us know when they're going to start? And we'll let them know when we're going to start. And you just switch corners. And then when it's time to put the gloves on, it's the same thing. You have somebody from their team, come into your locker room just to make sure the hand wraps aren't wet. There's nothing in the gloves, basic things like that. And when I told the commissioner, I was like, hey, it's been a while. They haven't told us about the gloves, because in this case, my dad sends me. And he said, and I told him, can you go check to see what time, they were right down the hall, literally like 2 doors down. And he goes and comes back, oh, they already put them on. I was like, oh, no, like they can't do that. So I go over there and I'm like, no, like we didn't see it. Like we all agreed and this and that. And then, it just kind of, blew out of proportion a little bit. And then Matchroom posted it. Obviously, it's something that, people don't get to see. The general public doesn't get to see that kind of stuff. So it's actually pretty cool that Matchroom's able to do that, but it does blow it out of proportion. It makes it look like it was something, that was a little bit more serious than it was, because it was resolved within a few minutes. They did take his gloves off. My dad was able to touch his gloves. Grab his gloves, touch his hand rests, make sure there wasn't anything there. And then, he put his gloves on and that was it.
Yeah, but it wasn't, when the thing is that it wasn't even, at the fighters meeting, at the
rules
meeting, I wasn't even at the rules meeting. But when I was wrapping Bam's hand, they had one of his cornermen in my locker room, watching my hands, which is fine. Pita was over there with them too when they were wrapping. But then right after I finished wrapping hands, I told that same guy, I told him, when you glove up, let us know so we could go see you glove up, and vice versa. Same thing. When
they finished their,
and the guy agreed. So you could even see it on that video that I point out the guy, said, look, I told the trainer, I told Caballero, look, we agreed, and yes or no. And he's like, and the guy said, yeah, we agreed. So then that's when Caballero's like, okay, let's take them out.
Me too. When I saw them, I didn't say specifically also to watch you put your gloves on, but I did tell them when they finished, I was like, okay, I'll be back in a little bit. I'll see you guys right now. Like, no me despedí, like diciéndoles, okay, good luck, hope everything comes out okay. No, they finished their wrap. I was like, perfect, cool. I'll see you guys in a little bit. Obviously I was referencing like, I'll be back right now to watch the gloves, but they,
you know what? And it was just part of the rule, part of what we agreed to. So it's not like they were trying to cheat or anything.
No, they weren't trying to cheat.
Like his communication.
Yeah, exactly that.
Yeah, because the
guy that agreed
right there.
The guy that agreed, he didn't tell them, hey, wait, we have to call him because I agreed that we were going to switch corners. So it was just, he didn't make it to them, because when we got there, he agreed. He's like, yeah, we did agree. Yeah. So that's when Caballero just took him off and put him back on. No big deal.
Yeah. Alrighty, but yeah, if you guys missed that episode, go out to my channel and you guys can check it out. But to get started with this episode, we're going to talk about Top Rank's doubleheader in Newark, New Jersey, starting with promising prospect Abdullah Mason. He improves to 14-0, 12 knockouts after stopping Luis Lebron in the 3rd round. From the opening round, he seemed like he was in control of the fight. He was faster, more effective, and looked like he was just having fun in there. He really started to touch him up in the 2nd round, where he got 2 knockdowns. And it was only a matter of time until the following round they stopped the fight. But it seems like he keeps getting better within each performance. Would you guys agree?
What weight is he fighting? What weight is he? 35? 35? Okay, so he's staying at 35. I think that kid is I don't want to say a couple fights, but he's not far from being a threat at 135. That kid is the real deal. He's looking better and better every fight. He's stepping up in competition, and it also looks like he's being able to compete with, and the better the opponents are, I think the better he's going to start competing. I think he is going to be within a year or so, he should be up there with the top lightweights.
Yeah, Abdullah Mason is, he's something special because he's really young. I don't know how old is he? I think he's like 20 years old. I do think like if you put him in the ring right now with, maybe not the top. I believe there's like five guys at lightweight, maybe 5 or 6 guys that maybe he still needs a little bit of a little bit more experience to get there. But the second tier of lightweights, aside from like the top, I want to say like 6 or 7, I don't think he has a problem with a lot of guys. I just think we need to see him in like a tough 10-round fight. He's got to get hit a little bit more just to see how he reacts to that. But I think he's got all the tools to become a world champ and pretty quick. I don't think it's going to take too long for them to be able to get him a title shot. And yeah, that guy's the real deal.
When you have a fighter that's just doing whatever he wants in the ring, having fun with it, how dangerous is that fighter?
Well, you know what? Right now he's doing what he's supposed to do with the opponents he's facing. But he is dominating the way he's supposed to. Once they start, top rank matchmakers, they're great at it. They know when they're gonna bring them to the next level and put in guys that are gonna go more rounds, guys that are gonna land some punches. They're gonna put in real tests in there, and I think he'll pass those tests and he'll beat the guys. But that's what he needs right now. He's doing what he's supposed to be doing. He's beating them up and doing looking the way he's supposed to be looking, because he is a great fighter. He is a great prospect. So right now he's just doing his job and doing exactly what everybody, as talented as he is, what we all expect for him to do.
He's never made it past the 6th round, so it will be interesting to see how he'll go in the later rounds.
That's kind of all we really need to see from him is more rounds. To have somebody in front of him that, I think the guys that he fights right now, like, no disrespect, but there are a certain level of opponent that they go into the fight already kind of, like, fuck, I'm fighting Abdullah Mason. You know what I mean? He hears everybody talking about him and stuff. As soon as the fight starts and the first, second round, once Abdullah Mason, like in the second round, dropped him a few times, by that point, they're kind of mentally defeated. When he gets somebody in front of him who's actually trying to win, who actually has skills to avoid certain things and kind of makes it difficult for him, I think that's all we kind of need to see from him, and then to get him more rounds, and maybe he might not get there. Virgil's 21-0, 21 knockouts, and he hasn't gone, past, I don't know what round, but you know what I mean? Like he's had tough fights, but there's guys that are special, but he needs to take that little step up for us to really say, oh, he's ready now,
Which fighter do you think would be a good opponent to give him that experience?
I can't think anybody off the top of my head, because I think, like I said, I think somebody like okay, so there's like Tank, Shakur, Lomachenko, Camaron Zepeda, I think Keyshawn Davis, Raymond. Those are probably like the 6 guys, maybe like a Frank Martin. I think those guys are still a little bit too experienced for him, but still a little bit too much. I think anybody besides that, I can't think of anybody off the top of my head besides those like 7 or 8 that I would say, put him in there with him right now and he probably beats him. Those are 8 guys that I think all of those guys have been a lot of rounds. They've been fighting 10 rounders. They've been undefeated opponents, this kind of style, that kind of style. And that's kind of all Abdullah Mason needs is to get the same, opponents that those guys have been facing. You could maybe go back to somebody that Keyshawn recently just fought, or, maybe, I don't know about this last opponent, because this one was, he went some rounds with Keyshawn. We'll talk about it right now. But maybe somebody Keyshawn fought 2 fights ago, someone Raymond fought a few fights ago, to kind of gauge where he's at.
But yeah, he'll be back in the ring August 17th in Quebec City. So keep an eye out for that, because
Where?
Quebec City, Canada.
Oh, he's gonna be in Canada.
Quebec.
Sorry.
Who's fighting who's the main event?
I don't know.
I don't.
And Billy.
Yeah,
Billy and yeah, Derevchenko, I think.
All right, but yeah, get behind this guy because he's the real deal. But yeah, moving on to Keyshawn Davis, he got a unanimous decision victory over an experienced Miguel Madueño. Same thing since the opening round, he displayed his defensive and offensive abilities, but it was just too much for Madueño throughout the fight. Even though he didn't stop coming forward and he was more of the aggressor, he seemed frustrated with all the tactics that were happening throughout. But give us your guys' thoughts on this fight.
I think Madueño just you know, one of those guys that takes every punch, but he's durable, man. That guy takes a punch, and he's just one of those awkward guys that swings hard punches. You know, a good talented fighter. Maybe you know, maybe that guy might be a good test for Abdullah Mason, you know, in a couple of fights from now. But yeah, you know, he's one of those guys that's gonna test you. He came in and put in some good rounds against Keyshawn. Keyshawn looked good, did what he was supposed to, you know, did his job, landed really good punches, because that's what the guy was there for, you know. He was just tough guy, you know, that you're not gonna but he comes in dirty, he's one of those guys that's really gonna test fighters, and I think it was a good test for Keyshawn. I think Keyshawn is at that level, but maybe just a step behind the top ones that you mentioned, Pita, maybe a little step behind. I think he still needs a little extra work, or not work, experience, a little extra experience. Maybe he's gonna need a few more fights before really pushing it to the next level. But I think he's, you know, he'll be there. He'll get there.
He's on the right track.
Yeah, Keyshawn's one of my favorite guys to watch, because you could tell, you know, obviously we're gonna get into Shakur later on. There's certain guys that just like they're not the fan friendliest. There's something about their style or their demeanor. Keyshawn's in there trying to hurt the guys. Like, even though he didn't get the stoppage, you could tell he's trying to in moments, and then he'll take moments off. He's like, oh shit, you know, maybe reserving his energy. He doesn't, but when he does attack, you could tell it's with he has like a mean streak about him where he's trying to hurt the guys, and it's entertaining. You know, every time Keyshawn's gonna fight, I'll tune in. You know, obviously we have guys in the weight class that might potentially fight him later on down the line, and you're watching with kind of like that kind of interest as well. But he's somebody that, even if he wasn't, or even if we couldn't potentially fight him, somebody that I'll be going out of my way to watch, just because he has that mean streak about him where he's trying to hurt his opponents, and it's entertaining. And you know, I'm a big fan of Keyshawn. I like his style. I like the way he fights. I like the way he can box. But then there's little moments where he kind of, I don't want to say reckless, but he kind of just says, fuck it, you know, let's go for it. Let's, you know, he kind of, you know, shows him what's up, and you know, I'm a fan of
that he has, that me as a trainer, I was looking at him because he might be one of our possible opponents for some of my fighters, and you do see things that we could, you know, get him with, or punches that we could land, stuff like that. So he does have those once in a while, but he is a great fighter. He is getting there. I think he will get there to one day fight big fights. You know, he will be there.
And he also has fun with his fights too.
He's like a funny dude. Like como like you say in Spanish, cae bien el way. Like, you know, he seems like he enjoys it. He likes fighting. That's what it looks like to me. And when I watch somebody in any sport, you know, I don't want to watch somebody that feels like they're doing it just because they get paid well, or just because, you know, this and that. Like, I want to watch somebody that you could tell loves what they're doing, and Keyshawn seems like that kind of guy.
Do you think he's been improving with each fight, or have you seen his development?
Yeah, I do. I think like my dad said, he's just a few steps behind the top dogs at 135. And it's just gonna come with experience and fighting guys like Madueño that he fought last night. Somebody that the whole 10 rounds isn't gonna stop, is trying to win, is using like dirty tactics to also get in your head, because the top guys, even though they're like really, really skilled, they do sneaky stuff that, like, the general, like, while you're watching the fight, maybe you can't really tell, but they're doing sneaky stuff to get into your head, to mess with you and this and that. And I think this kind of guy is just getting Keyshawn ready for the top guys at 135.
That kind of answered my question. I was going to say, do you think he's ready for the top guys in the lightweight?
Not yet. You know, I mentioned earlier about Abdullah Mason. I think Keyshawn is a few fights away. Abdullah Mason is maybe like a year or so. Keyshawn could be 2 fights away or whatever from the top. We've said it. I think Tank right now, you know, with his experience, with the world titles that he's already won, with the amount of world title fights he's been in, him, Lomachenko, Shakur, you got to give those guys their respect and say they're kind of, you know, the top 3, and everybody else is, you know, I think the next group is, you know, I think it's Tank, Loma, Shakur, and then after that it's Camaron Zepeda, it's Raymond, and it's Keyshawn. And those guys are just a few fights away, maybe a fight or two away from getting the opportunity to fight those guys. But you got to give those guys the respect because of, they've already been in all those world title fights that obviously, Keyshawn, Raymond, and Camaron Zepeda haven't been in.
Yeah, and in the post-fight interview, he was saying that he wasn't disappointed that he didn't get a knockout because like you were saying, he was able to hang in there with a durable guy and he was having fun with it, and the crowd was entertained.
Yeah, sometimes it's better to go all 10 rounds, especially against somebody with so much experience, because now he's already tested that those guys come in and, if you were to knock him out in one round, you don't learn much. You learn more going out 10 with this guy, because that guy was, like Peter was saying, dirty, strong, awkward, difficult, took a good punch, just kept coming. So it's better for him to get that experience. And that's what's going to make him better. That's what Peter said, 3 fights from now, that's where he could be, and at that level. If he were if he gets guys that he's blowing out in 2 rounds, then he's never gonna get better. So
it's like we've seen recently, like I've talked about it, where like right now, like Emiliano Vargas, I believe he hasn't been mentioned with like Abdullah Mason and some of these guys yet, because I feel like it's not that they're doing a bad job matching him up. It's just that he keeps fighting the same kind of level opponents, and there hasn't been like a step up where you're like, okay, that was good. It's just guys that he's gonna blow out like in a round or two, and I don't think that's helping him. And I think he needs like tough opponents, and he needs to fight dirty, ugly, difficult southpaw like that. You know what I mean? Like he needs to be developing the way I think Abdullah is developing and Keyshawn has developed and these guys have developed. And I think, I didn't get a chance to talk about it because he fought last week. I wasn't able to be on the show, but that's what I was going to bring up when we, talk about Emiliano and stuff. It seems like they keep giving him like these easy opponents that he's blowing out in a round or two. And I don't think he's learning from them. Whereas Keyshawn, this 10-round fight, obviously he's not at the level of Keyshawn yet, but I'm saying like Keyshawn in this 10-round fight, he's going to learn a lot more than he would have if he would have got somebody that he would have knocked out in a round or two.
Right. So it's always best to get those rounds in.
Well, I wouldn't say always best. I mean, if he would have got that guy Madueño and in the 4th round, he would have knocked him out nasty, that's a good job, because that should have been a tough fight and you were knocking him out. But then we also know which opponents are, that guy should get knocked out in a few rounds. And Madueño wasn't one of those guys. So, for that opponent, I think it was good.
Okay. All right, moving on to the co-main event. O'Shaquie Foster lost his WBC Junior Lightweight World Title against Robson Conceição by split decision. Even though Conceição was the more aggressive fighter, he wasn't really effective. Foster was the one in control of the fight with his defense and just outboxing him. How did you guys see this fight? Do you think it was a robbery?
That shit lost me money.
That's what Peter's mad. Look, I think Foster won. Because effectively he landed the better punches. He threw a lot less. So I think, especially with what I believe the judges were very not experienced when it came to title fights. I think they just had a few title fights that they had worked. So that probably had a lot to do with it. But sometimes it depends on how the judges have. There's judges that work that prefer guys that are aggressive, guys that throw a lot of punches. There's some that really like the defensive fighters that are very defensive and you don't get hit. Even though you hit one or two times per round, but your punches are landing clearly. Your opponent could be throwing 100, but they're all touching the gloves and touching the shoulders. So some judges pick the 2 punches that landed clearly. But then there's also those judges that like the guy that's aggressive, that throws a lot of punches. And in this case, do I believe Foster won? I think so, because I seen him land the more effective punches and everything. But Conceição just was pressuring and throwing a lot of punches. And even though most of them were not even landing, but see, don't forget that you have 3 judges and they're all seeing from a different angle. So if you have a Foster on one side, but the other 2 judges just see Conceição throwing, even though they're landing, but they're seeing it from an angle where to them it is landing. And you know, it was a close fight, a split decision, and they gave it to Conceição. I'm actually happy for Conceição. This is his fourth time, but do I think Foster won? Yeah, I think so too, because I seen it on TV and you could repeat it, you could see it again and again. Oh no, he won. But the judges at that point, different angles, different. You don't know how they're seeing it. You know, a week before that, a judge had Gio Estrada winning. You know what I mean? It's just the way boxing is. You know. I think Foster should have been a little more
Aggressive.
a little more, not that he's aggressive, because that's not his style. Throw more punches, be a little more open to more combinations, boom, 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 you know, and show the judges a little bit more. It was more about him just, you know, landing whenever he felt like landing one punch, but the rest, he was just, you know, pretty much going through the rounds. That could have been the reason. I don't know. You know, I thought he won. But I'm also happy for Conceição. That's already his fourth opportunity. Now he's world champion. No matter what, he's a world champion.
Yeah, I think everybody saw Shakur Foster win. I don't think there's, you know, besides the two judges, I don't think there's a lot of people that thought Conceição won. You know, obviously, you know, like my dad said, he was throwing a lot, but he was really ineffective with anything that he was doing. I don't think he won more than, you know, 4 rounds max. That's if you want to be generous. You know, it sucks for Shakur Foster, somebody who's had you know, a tough road to become a world champ. You know, we've had different, you know, guys that become champ, you know, one way or another. Some guys are signed from their pro debut and this and that. Shakur Foster, you know, he went on the road his last fight, beating Rocky in his hometown. Then he gets a deal with Top Rank. I don't know how long the deal was, but you know, you know, he gets a deal with Top Rank, and you know, he gets his first title defense, and then right away they pull off something like this. It's, you know, it sucks to see. Because like my dad's, the main thing that I caught from what my dad said was last week we saw it with Gio Estrada, but that's the way boxing is, and that's the part that really sucks. That now people, like, you just expect, not that you expect it, but it doesn't surprise you. Like, you see it happen, and you're like, well, fuck it, that's, you know, that's how boxing is. You know what I mean? Instead of, you know, like doing something about that, because it's something that happens so often now that we're kind of numb to it, and we're just like, oh, that's, you know, that's how boxing is. But it sucks because, while yes, Conceição, that's cool. He's obviously, you know, fought for a world title a few times, didn't get decisions that maybe were close fights, or, you know, fights that he lost or whatever. But that has nothing to do with Shakur Foster. Like, that just because, you know, he fought for you know, that was his 4th or 3rd time, whatever, fighting for the world title, doesn't mean Shakur deserves to get his title taken in that form. So it just sucks to see. You know, I thought he won the fight. You know, my dad thinks everybody thinks Shakur Foster won. There's nobody besides those two judges that think Conceição won, and it really sucks.
What do you think needs to happen to hold, or what do you think it should take to hold these judges accountable?
There needs to be, okay, so in boxing, I read this on, I gotta start screenshotting this so I can give people the credit that I want whenever I read stuff like this. When a fighter fights, the fighters, I've seen it with the referee sometimes. They get interviewed after the fight. Fighters, I've seen a referee, they hold a press conference, so the promoter's up there answering questions. The judges need to be held to that kind of stuff too. Where if something like this happens, or like last week or 2 weeks ago when Bam fought, or last week, whatever it was, you know, one judge he needs to explain himself. He needs to explain himself, because nobody thought Gio Estrada was winning the fight at that point. Nobody thought Shakur Foster lost this past weekend. He needs to explain himself. There needs to be suspensions. There needs to be fines. Because if a fighter does something wrong, if a fighter does, you know, whatever, you get fined. You know, if you miss weight, if you don't do your job correctly, you get fined. A promoter gets, you know what I mean? Like there's consequences. But for the judges, it doesn't seem like there's any consequences. They just go and then they get hired for another show, and that's it. Like, people forget about it, you know. And there needs to be consequences, just like there is for fighters. If a fighter misses weight, you get fined. If something like this happens, where literally nobody thought Conceição won, there has to be some sort of suspension, some sort of fine, they need to explain themselves. Like, what were they watching? Like, because nobody thought Conceição won. Like, what were they watching? Like, you know, or get their license revoked, or there needs to be consequences for this kind of stuff, because there is literally no consequences. They just get hired for the next job. And us as boxing fans, as people in boxing, there's already fights coming up this Saturday. We're going to be in Las Vegas with guys. By the time that card is finished, we already forgot about what happened last week to Shakur Foster. And that's the way we kind of, whatever, you know, it sucks for a little bit. And then by the time the next fight comes around, everybody forgets about it.
He has one more fight with Top Rank, I believe, but he does want to get that rematch.
It has to be the rematch.
The Top Rank has to give him that
If
rematch.
Top Rank, yeah, that would look really bad on Top Rank too if they don't give him the rematch. If Top Rank goes ahead, they have Navarrete, they have a few guys at 130 who are also there. I think Navarrete, he's still world champion 130, so he's with Top Rank. If they go ahead and do a unification fight, they would look so bad if they do that. They would look so bad if they went and gave Conceição a unification with Navarrete. If there's anything aside from Oshaki Foster getting his rematch, it's gonna look really bad on the whole company.
And he needs to not leave it to the judges this time.
No, I mean he's not a he's not a power puncher. Like he's supposed to switch up his style just to please the judges. He won the fight. Like the judges just need to do their job. He doesn't have to switch anything up that he did. He won the fight clearly. The judges need to do their job.
Right. So in a bad decision like that in a championship fight, what's the process on like getting that overturned or is like to fight it?
They won't overturn it.
I don't think anybody's ever gotten shit overturned. Like I always hear people say that, but nothing ever happens.
But I don't know if they had it in the contract, but even if they didn't have it in the contract and immediate rematch, they should give it. They should give them the rematch. Top Rank needs to give them the rematch.
There's certain things like Ryan and Devin Haney where somebody tests positive and like something like that, then decisions get overturned. But when it's like a bad decision, like a fight happens, it's a bad decision. I always hear people like, oh, they're gonna appeal it or they're gonna do this, they're gonna do that. And from my knowledge, I'm 29 years old. I don't recall ever hearing about a bad decision getting overturned. Like unless I'm just forgetting off the top of my head, but I don't think it's ever happened. So I really don't know what they can do except for just hope for a rematch.
If it's happened very little in the world. Like we don't even know about
I can't think of a major event where it happened like that.
Man, that sucks. It sucks for Shaki.
And also the thing is that when that happens and everybody starts complaining, then it was a title fight. So the WBC is the one that brings the judges, that appoints the judges. So they also, if they talk to the judges and they hear from the judges, oh, okay, yeah, you're right, so you seen it that way. So they don't want to look bad either. So they also kind of okay it with their judges, so they don't get criticized by having those type of judges. The organizations work like that too. They want to make sure they maintain a good reputation. So they go whatever, pretend like they did talk to them and oh yeah, and then they find a good excuse to say, oh, that's the way. Okay, then and everything, and everybody forgets.
WBC needs to order an immediate rematch too. There's the WBC and Top Rank, they need to order an immediate rematch right away.
Hopefully that happens next. But moving on to the main event, Shakur Stevenson defended his WBC Lightweight World Title and won by unanimous decision against Artem Harutyunyan. There was a lot of pressure on him going into this fight because of his last performance with Edwin de los Santos. Everyone was expecting to see a knockout because he was promoting a knockout too. Did this fight go as you guys expected, or were you guys expecting him to get a knockout?
He did more than, with Dos Santos, all he did was run and run and run. And this time, he stood there and, landed some beautiful punches. He's talented. He's talented. But, either the other guy was just so fucking good, took a good punch or something that Shakur just couldn't hurt him. Or just maybe Shakur just doesn't have the power to knock guys out. And he's just going to win like that. And now with the fight against Dos Santos, people already, he's a boring fighter, even though he tries and he stays there and maybe, because talent-wise, he's very talented. He just doesn't get that. He just, not having power is not going to help him. It's not going to help him turn or make people
Tune in.
think different about him. We're just gonna, oh, he's boring. He doesn't, he can't win because I don't know. I see that people were actually walking out, but it's just, that's just him for now. There's nothing he could do, nothing anybody could do, nothing a promoter could do. Just continue fighting and just keep, he still gets paid well. Keep defending your title, keep fighting and move on. That's all he could do. What else can he do?
Yeah, I didn't think it was. I mean, obviously, there's no performance worse than the De Los Santos fight that I think anybody could have. But there's something missing, because he did fight more on the inside. He did stand there. He did, he landed some great body shots, but there's something about the element of when Gervonta Tank Davis fights, you're watching the fight on the edge of your seat because you know at any moment, fucking Tank's gonna knock this dude out, or he's gonna put him to sleep, or he's coming out really aggressive. Like, and there's something about Shakur that just he doesn't have that. He's never gonna have it, but it's just the way he goes about it, where it just seems like it's hard to say that's it. Like he's just not that exciting to watch. Obviously, us watching it, like we talked about Keyshawn, where we also watch it with, Raymond being the ranked number 1 for his title, and you look at how talented he is, you're like, fuck, that's a really, really hard guy to beat, because he could fight you on the inside the way he fought, and he lands great body shots. He landed some great combinations. He's hard to hit on the inside too. And then you see De Los Santos fight, he could do that too, where he could stink it up the whole night and make it really, really boring, but win a decision like that. So we watch it, and I'm like, that's a really tough guy to beat. But then as a fan, you're like, that's not somebody that I like tuning in to watch, because there's no element of, this fight's about to end in any second, because he just doesn't have that. So, I mean, it's going to be really hard for him to get the really, really top, level guys. I don't think he's done the best job, with his like social media and stuff like that either, because, like he blames like Top Rank and this and that, but he has openly said in interviews on Twitter, I don't know where he said it, but he has openly said that if a fight gets tough, or he said about Devin Haney, when Devin Haney got clipped by Ryan Garcia, he's like, I would have been on my bicycle right away. Like that would have been one of those nights where I'm just like, you know what? I just got to survive. I got to win. The fact that he says that as a fan, like, why would I want to watch him fight Gervonta Davis now? Like, why do I want to watch him? As soon as he feels Gervonta's power, he's going to be on his bicycle all night. So yeah, he complains like about Artem's, he complains about Artem. Like he didn't want to engage. Well, you just fought De Los Santos and you don't want to engage. So you know what I mean? Like he did what you did. What's wrong with it? He didn't do it. Artem didn't do it nearly as bad as Shakur did. So I think that also doesn't help with his, with getting behind somebody. You gotta, like he doesn't do a good job of marketing himself and stuff. He's just like always complaining about something. And, like this fight, like I said, he's complaining about Artem not engaging. But did you see yourself fight against De Los Santos? You didn't engage a single time. Like, you know what I mean? It's just, I don't know, man. It's tough to get behind somebody like that as a fan. But watching him, knowing that there's a potential that we might fight him, that's somebody that's really, really tough to fight. That motherfucker is good. Defensively, just doesn't have the power. That's literally the only thing that's missing from his arsenal is that one punch kind of power. Because he can box, he can move, he's light on his feet, he'll step around, he'll make you miss and counter. He's quick. He's, you know what I mean? Great skills, but just not the most exciting guy to watch.
Steve Kim had an interesting perspective on Twitter, saying that he doesn't think Shakur's offensive game is complete, and a reason for that is because he had his first title opportunity in his 13th fight. Do you think they rushed him into a title opportunity that maybe stunned his development?
Became champion at his 13th fight, then that's
he's a bad motherfucker.
Talented motherfucker. That's why he's so fucking talented. That's why he became champion in his 13th fight.
Yeah, he's a bad motherfucker to do that.
That means he's a bad dude.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just, I think getting into the championship fights, getting to the top level guys, defending against somebody, strong.
Oscar Valdez, and
something about him that maybe he's still worried about. I don't know how old is he? Maybe he still doesn't have that confidence. Maybe he's still worried about getting clipped and getting hurt. Maybe he's still worried about that. So no, he at 13 he became a champion. That means he's a bad dude. He could fight, but maybe as a champion now he's fighting world championship fights, world class fighters. So maybe he's just he's shorted on in the Dos Santos fight. Maybe he's worried about getting hit. Can't say afraid, because in the ring, if you wouldn't be in the ring if you were afraid. But he's just like there's that worry,
a little doubt.
That little doubt that fuck, maybe I get hurt, or maybe I lose the fight, and maybe that's something that's still hurting him. It's possible.
I don't think it's a coincidence that his two worst performances have been against big punchers like Nakatila and Edwin De Los Santos. I think those two performances where he just decided, nah, I'm on my bike. And then what he keeps saying about that, if he's like, no, I would have been, fuck the fans, fuck the fans. I'm just going to try to survive. I think that mentality, like my dad said, is a little doubt, like where, when he got a big puncher in front of him, he just says, nah, I'm not engaging at all. And that's not the, most fan friendly thing to do or to say. But that's how he fights. That's what he is. I don't think he's gonna change his. He's not gonna start hitting harder now that he's at 135 or eventually 140. Like it's just what he is. There's people that like that style. There's people that obviously support him and stuff, and he's got a big fan base still. It's not like everybody hates this guy. No. He's got a good fan base. There was a good crowd. Some of them left, but there was a good crowd in New Jersey. He always has great viewership on ESPN. People tune in to watch him. It's just not for everybody, but he does, he's still, a well-known commodity, and everybody will still tune in when he fights. And, he's going to go get a deal with, Matchroom or whoever, and they're still going to pay him a lot of money. And, but he's never going to be the big pay-per-view star because that part of his game is missing.
Do you think he is going to move on to another promotion?
Yeah, I think I think the bridge with Top Rank is burned now. Like, I think,
I wouldn't.
okay, we talked about it the other day.
Top Rank has good fight frame.
We talked about it the other day, though, where Bob Arum, how often does Bob Arum miss fights?
Never.
He wasn't there.
Oh, Bob Arum wasn't there?
Bob
Bob Arum wasn't there.
I didn't know that either.
Bob Arum wasn't there.
Holy cow.
And he's usually there from the very first
Every
fight.
single fight. But who said he wasn't there?
I read it like online somewhere or some shit. Unless
Hmm.
I'm wrong. Like, I would like to see if
Bob Arum goes to every since the first fight.
So I think, and then the shirt he wore, he knows he's leaving. He wore a shirt with a picture of Bob Arum and what's his name, and Lomachenko. A picture of Bob Arum and Lomachenko, and on the back said Bob's hiding his son from this ass whooping or something like that. And
what if Bob does offer him that fight?
No, because they're trying to make it with Gervonta Davis.
Yeah, but I think it's easier to make with Shakur because they're both with Top Rank. They're both.
Shakur's not with Top Rank anymore, though.
Yeah, but it's easier to make. I think they work better with, it's easier to work with somebody that's been working with you for so many years, with other fighters, than somebody, like PBC who might not be the easiest ones to work, or they can't make those fights happen. Makes a big difference.
Yeah.
But
But if you're Top Rank, you're Lomachenko. If you got a fighter like Shakur Stevenson, where he said that the reason that he didn't get Lomachenko is because he didn't re-sign with them. So maybe they did tell him, okay, we'll get you Lomachenko, but you re-sign with us. And he said no, which he has the right to do it. That's his right, and he said no. If you're Top Rank, would you rather for one fight? Because let's say both guys, let's say Shakur and Tank both beat Lomachenko. Like, I don't know if that happens, but let's just say they both beat him. Who would you rather lose to Gervonta Tank Davis for a shitload of money, or Shakur Stevenson for a non-pay-per-view regular $3 million on ESPN? Because that's what it is with Shakur Stevenson. Shakur Lomachenko is not a pay-per-view fight. Shakur right now, in the moment he's in his career, he can't be in a pay-per-view fight. Like, you can't sell a pay-per-view fight with him. Unless it's Tank, but just because of Tank. But he can't headline a pay-per-view where he's the selling point, and even if it's with Lomachenko, he can't. But Tank and Lomachenko, that's a big pay-per-view. So Top Rank's obviously it's a no-brainer. Like, it's business. Just like Shakur had the right to say no to re-signing with Top Rank, Top Rank has the right to move on from him and go look for the biggest fight for their fighter, Lomachenko.
I don't know if it's true or not, but I saw someone saying that Lomachenko said to have Tank fight with Shakur first.
No, that was fake.
Oh, that was fake.
Yeah, that was Tank's coach.
I don't think that's Loma saying.
No, Loma wouldn't do that. That was Coach Kenny Ellis, I believe. And then afterwards he said, man, you guys can't take a joke. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I believed it. Wow.
Nah, Loma won't do something like that. We know Loma. Loma won't say something like that.
But
he'll be the first one to fight.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's gonna
fight. But do you think the way Shakur is doing, like, going about with his relationship with Top Rank, is that a smart way to go about it?
No, because Top Rank has all the 135-pounders. Like let's say he goes with Matchroom, because I don't think he's signing with PBC. They hardly have dates to begin with. If he signs with Matchroom, who do they have at 135 for him?
Cruz, that gold medalist.
Andy Cruz. That's the only one. Like, Matchroom has a lot of 140-pounders. Is he going to move up to 140? Matchroom has plenty of 140-pounders from him. He can move up. He can fight Richardson Hitchens. He can fight Paro. He can fight Subriel Matias. There's a lot of guys at 140 for him. But at 135, who's he going to fight? If he wants the Camaron Zepeda fight. See, that's the problem with fighters who want to be in a way, free agents or have their own power, well, then the promoter doesn't have to give you their best fighters. Like if he goes to unless you're a huge pay-per-view star like Canelo, but if you're not, if you're Shakur Stevenson and you go to Golden Boy, say, I'm not going to sign with you guys for 5 years. I'm only going to sign for you guys for one fight, and I want it to be Camaron Zepeda. Golden Boy's going to tell him, fuck you, go fight somebody else. Like, we're not going to sign you. If he goes to PBC and says, I'm not going to sign 2 years with you, I'm only going to do one fight, and I want it to be Gervonta Davis, good luck. Go fucking find that somewhere else. You know, that the promoter has the right to do that too. Just like you have the right to be a free agent, the promoter has the right to look out for their best interests too. They don't work for you anymore. You know, and I think Top Rank has the best guys at 135 for him, even though he's not getting them right now. And, you know, but maybe later, but now you burn that bridge, you're not going to get those guys. You know, I don't know. Top Rank has, I think, the biggest amount of 135 pounders that he could potentially fight. And
he can move up to 140 maybe, and
if he goes to 140, then Matchroom's good for him because they have a lot of guys. I just mentioned Hitchens and fucking Leon Pato, who's the new champ. He could defend it right away with Subriel Matias and these guys. They have plenty of guys at 140 for him, but at 135 is not that much.
To 140?
He's got no power.
He's got no power.
What thing about power for?
But
His
just,
power.
He doesn't hit hard, and he's not going to start
He
hitting.
just outbox fighters. He could
Yeah, he
outbox
just
all those
outbox guys. Yeah, he doesn't need
probably
it.
outbox all of them and win by decision. But what do you mean his power translate to 140?
Yeah.
well, that's why
not.
I'm asking.
No.
All right, moving on to Golden Boy's event with William Cepeda. He dominates Giovanni Cabrera by stopping him in the third round with a vicious body shot. What message do you think that sent out? Because Cabrera went out to the distance with Pitbull, who's also considered a
No
power.
message at all. You know, no, he did what he was supposed to do. Just like we were talking earlier about Abdul Mason, he's doing what he's supposed to do. Camaron did exactly what he's supposed to do against Cabrera.
Mhm.
You know, Cabrera, you know, yeah, he went all 12 rounds or 10 rounds, whatever it was with Pitbull, but that doesn't mean he's up there in that level. His last fight was against what's his name, Quiroz from Oxnard, and he almost lost that fight. A lot of people thought he lost that fight in San Antonio. And you know, we love Quiroz, you know, he's from Oxnard, but that kid is not even ranked, maybe not even ranked in the top 20 or anything. And a lot of people thought he beat him in San Antonio. The commentators thought he Cabrera lost. So maybe because he went the distance with people, that's why people thought he's this, he's that. But no, there was no way. Camaron did exactly what he was supposed to do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think the same thing. I don't, that it's impressive to see Camaron. Not impressive. That's the wrong word. It's exciting watching Camaron fight because of how he does it, and he's relentless and he doesn't care. But when he's got guys in front of him, like Giovanni Cabrera, like some of the guys that he's fought recently who don't have a lot of power, it's easy to look like that too. You know what I mean? I still believe there's a reason he's been fighting the guys that he's been fighting, and he hasn't been put in there with the puncher. Because if you look at his performances, his best performances, he fought one of our own fighters, Hector Tanajara. He has, I think, 19, 20 wins. He's got like 5 knockouts. Jojo Diaz, who was a former 126 pounder, Giovanni Cabrera, the list goes on and on. If you look at Camaron, what was the last one that he had against the guy from Australia or the UK or whatever? The same thing, not a lot of power. When he gets in there with somebody that can punch, and there's a lot of guys at 135, and there's a reason he hasn't been facing those kind of guys, then I think he'll send a message. Until then, I don't, I'm not gonna pretend like I'm, thinking, he's this unstoppable Hughes. So he fights Maxi Hughes, 26 wins, 5 by knockout. Mercedo Gesta, 34 wins, 17 by knockout. He fights Jojo Diaz, a former 126 pounder, 33 wins, 15 of them by knockout. You know what I mean? Rene Alvarado, who was a former 126, 130 pounder. Giovanni Cabrera, out of 22 wins, 7 wins are by knockout. You know what I mean? Like the list goes on and on. I brought up Hector, who's one of our fighters, 22 wins, 6 of them were by knockout. So yeah, he looks unstoppable with these guys that don't hit hard. He looks unstoppable. And yeah, he's fun to watch. I'm gonna tune in because Camaron Zepeda is fun, exciting kind of guy to watch. But put him in there with the puncher and let's see what happens. Because until then, I have that doubt where yeah, it's great and it sounds great and he's ranked #1 for all the belts and this and that, and he's doing what he's supposed to do with the guys that he has in front of him, but put him in there with a puncher and see what happens.
Do you think Cabrera could have continued though? Because he got up right after the 10
Nah,
count.
Cabrera didn't even make weight. He was in there, just collected his check and that's it. I'm going home.
Dang. But before the fight, or like you just said he's ranked #1 across all of the boards. Do you think after this fight, it's finally time for a world title opportunity?
Well, see, this fight was supposed to be for the world title, the WBA regular title, because I'm not gonna lie, even Mendoza, Gilberto called me about that fight, and because they first offered it to Raymond
Murataya.
It was, they first offered it to us, and it's not. I don't think it's it was fake, because Eric Gomez came to my gym.
At the gym.
He came to my gym and offered me the fight. Would you guys fight Raymond versus Camaron Zepeda? I told him, make that fight happen right away. I told him right away. We told him right away. And he said, okay, let me talk to them. And a few days went by. Then I talked to Top Rank, Carl Moretti. He says, yeah, we're working on it, Robert. We're working on it. We're trying to make it. A few weeks later, well, we hear that he decided to fight Giovanni Cabrera. So that was supposed to be for the regular WBA.
With Raymond, it was going to be for the WBA regular.
It was going to be for the WBA. So if, and we were still thinking that was going to happen. He was still going to fight against, because I was told, and I was told by Gilberto, that he was still going to make that fight with Raymond or with Cabrera for the WBA. But a few days before, I was talking to Top Rank about, because I'm interested in that. He fights for the WBA. That gives us, because Raymond's #2 and
everyone
and the other ones too. So that would have put Raymond as #1, because once you fight for the title, they raise you from the other rankings. So that would have put Raymond as #1 for the other titles too. So I wanted to know, and Carl, Top Rank, we don't know, Robert. They're not saying anything. We don't know. Can you talk to them? Can you ask them? Because I have a good relationship with them too, with Golden Boy or with Eric Gomez or with Gilberto. But no, nobody would tell us anything, and they didn't do it because they still want to.
They still want to have that option.
#1, because they're hoping. I'll bet you they're hoping maybe one of the belts goes vacant or something.
They're hoping for the WBO. They're hoping for the WBO title. They're hoping for Berinchik. They're hoping for Berinchik. I think they obviously know the rules just like we do of if you fight for one of the titles, you're gonna get dropped from the rankings of all the other ones. So if he would have fought for the WBA regular, then he wouldn't be ranked for the WBO, and they want to fight Berinchik. But what were you told about the WBO title? That if
Berinchik has an option with Top Rank, but if there was something bigger for him, like in Saudi, that he was allowed to take that, and I believe that's what's going to happen.
And what did Keyshawn say during fight week? They asked him about fighting Berinchik, and he said, I believe he's fighting, I forget the first name, Chamberlain or something like that from the UK, who's ranked like #10 in the Ring magazine or something. Like he's ranked like in the top 10 for the WBO or some shit like that. I think he's ranked #10 for the WBO. On a Saudi, I'm assuming on a Saudi card. It's gonna be on that UK one where Anthony Joshua is fighting. Maybe he's from the Ukraine. He's good friends with Usyk. Maybe the next time Usyk fights, Berinchik is gonna defend his title. And Top Rank said that to you. Said that to you. He might go with the Saudi Arabia fight. If he does, then that's part of the agreement. Or if not, he's gonna fight one of our guys. And Keyshawn brought it up too. So I'm assuming he's gonna go do that with the WBO. That leaves Camaron Zepeda, Raymond, and what's his name, and Keyshawn, all waiting for these title fights. And Keyshawn's not gonna fight Shakur, so Keyshawn's waiting for Loma, Tank, and Berinchik also. He's not gonna fight Shakur. They're good friends. So Camaron Zepeda, what's he gonna do now? What's Raymond gonna do now? Why not? Like that fight makes sense. That fight makes a lot of sense.
But there would be a regular. It's still a title. It's still a world title fight.
Because these guys are not. I mean, they're young, but there's nothing they can do anymore where they could prove anything further than what they already are. They're the top, like Raymond and Camaron Zepeda are literally #1, #2 for probably most of the belts. Maybe just the WBA. Raymond's not, the top 2 or whatever. For the WBO, it's 1 and 2. For the BC, it's 1 and 2. Like, or you know what I mean? Like it's like that for most of them. And it's just time that they fight one of the champs, but it's gonna be hard. Like there's only 4 champs, and it looks like 2 of them are gonna fight each other. One of them is fighting Saudi Arabia. That just leaves Shakur, who's gonna fight Shakur. You know what I mean? Like it's kind of a mess. And You know, it sucks, you know, being on that end of it where you're just waiting and hoping to get a title fight, but in the fucking fight each other. Why not? You said yes. Top Rank said yes. Golden Boy Eric Gomez loved it. He said here in Ontario, Raymond from Fontana, Camaron Zepeda has a good following here, Southern California, Mexican. You know, that would be a big fight.
You're in LA.
Well, it was supposed to be in Fontana.
They're in Ontario.
I mean, yeah, in
Ontario.
Ontario, my bad.
Hopefully that happens. That would be exciting. But would you guys prefer him taking that WBO route or the WBC route now that Zepeda?
I don't care what he does.
What would I prefer? Like, what the fuck?
We're talking.
Would you guys prefer? He's not my fucking fighter.
Well, what would you rather see?
He's saying, would you prefer? He's
I
not
would
my
rather see him in there with
fucking
Raymond Morataya. That's what I would rather see.
I don't know. You know, would I prefer Camaron taking the WBO round?
I don't care what he fights.
What would you
That's
rather
his
see
shit.
him do?
No, but you said, would I prefer?
I would like to see him fight Shakur. No, like obviously I want that for Raymond. Like all this stuff I wanted for Raymond, but I think him and Shakur is also a good fight. Like I think him and Shakur is a good fight. I think honestly him against anybody is a good fight just because he's an exciting fighter. So he's going to be in a good fight with anybody.
Shakur doesn't have that power and
To keep him off of him. It would be a great fight. I think him versus Lomachenko would be a great fight. Him versus Gervonta would be a great fight. Him versus anybody is a great fight because he's an exciting fighter. And he's an exciting fighter. Shakur is not the most exciting, but I think if you put them in the ring together, that's a good fight. You know what I mean? But I want to see him fight. If you ask me who I want to see Camaron Zepeda fight, I want to see him fight Raymond Morataya.
Okay. See, that could have been easy to
What
answer.
route do you guys want him to take?
I don't give a fuck what route he goes.
It's tough love. It's tough love. Anyways, okay. Moving on, we have a new unified super flyweight world champion. Fernando Martinez remains undefeated. And he
For a second there, I was like, wait, there was another card, but I forgot Japan.
Yeah.
Pumita.
He defeated Kazuto Ioka in his own backyard by unanimous decision. I didn't see this fight, but from what I was reading, it seemed like the first fight was Martinez, and I mean the first half was Martinez, and the second half was Ioka. I heard it was close, but what can you guys tell us about this fight?
I'm happy that Martinez won that fight because I know obviously I know Chino Maidana, I know Pileta. Chino was my fighter and my champion, so I wanted them to win. Plus, we're already looking at future unification fights for BAM, and that's a great fight. That's a great fight because Argentina, always brings their fans. Always, they're gonna come over here to fight. We're not, with Ioka, we would have to go over there and maybe.
That'd be cool though. I like BAM loves Japan.
It is. I would love to too. But I think with Puma it's just a little more interesting because now that Maidana has them, I hate to go against them, but we will. It's just business, and it'll be a big fight. I think it'll be a big fight because Argentina they support their fighters. I think I'm excited. Obviously we have to do our mandatory. I believe Ioka and Martinez also had a rematch clause. I really don't know if they'll do it. There's word Ioka might retire.
Maybe he came out on an Instagram post not sounding like he's gonna retire. He said, "I'll see you guys soon." Maybe
he'll go for the rematch because maybe he'll go and think he could win. I don't know, but it doesn't matter. We both do our rematches sometime before the end of the year, and then we fight each other. Or sometime next year. By next year, I think BAM. Because BAM said, he would love to be undisputed. So, we have to, that's already 3 belts, and we just have one more, the WBO. So, and it's a Japanese.
The fight itself was it was a great fight. You got Puma, the kind of relentless, all out, volume puncher. Ioka, like the sniper, kind of, picks his shots, great jab, great uppercuts, nice body shots. Real technical, like the styles mesh perfectly. To make an exciting fight from the opening bell. It was a great fight. But you just kind of start to see the wear and tear of someone like Ioka, who can't keep up with the pace of Martinez anymore. And Martinez, not the technically best fighter, most sound, great jab, great no, just all out relentless. And he was able to outwork and outgun Ioka. I think a fight between him and BAM would be, all action. BAM's, he's not this defensive, BAM's all action power puncher. He's trying to hurt you from the opening bell too. I think that makes for, one of the best fights that you can make in boxing.
Mm-hmm. I think you kind of just answered my following question. But I was gonna ask, stylistically, how does a fight between?
It's all action. You got the Bam is a little bit more precise and a bigger puncher than Martinez, but then the volume of Martinez could outdo what Bam does if he keeps him like really, really busy, and he could wear him out. And if Bam isn't able to catch him, you know what I mean? Like there's just so many different ways the fight can play out. I also think like the Bam style of how he pivots and turns does best when he's got somebody that's coming at him. You could pivot around somebody that's coming at you a little bit better than somebody that's moving. So I think you'll see the best out of both guys. Like I think that's a stylistically a great fight, and I would love to see it.
RGBA versus Chino Maidana.
Again,
That'd be crazy. All right, and to finish off, we just want to give a shout out to AMADO Vargas,
the god.
the god. He, after his victory over Sean Garcia, I didn't see this fight, but did you guys see it?
That was the fight of the weekend. That was the fight of the weekend.
Action, for AMADO. When he started dancing like
Michael Jackson.
Michael
That
Jackson.
shit was funny.
You know what?
That's my dad's godson.
Yeah, it's mejado. That's why my Fernando is my compa. You know what? I was happy for him. That was a good win for him. Obviously at that level too. It's not like they were fighting for a world title or anything like that. At that level, he showed hard. He showed that he was in good shape. Sean didn't. He kind of gave
up after the first round.
He was throwing up because he was probably not in shape. I don't know. He probably didn't train. I think Ryan said for a rematch that he's going to train him so he could be in good shape because the kid wasn't in good shape.
Yeah.
I think it was more about, just fucking going out and performing. But AMADO did take it serious. He went out there and swung, swinging punches, both, at their, I think AMADO looks a lot stronger and was able to dominate the way he did. It was good win for them, man.
There's obviously we got like the Ioka Martinez top level world title fight, Shakur Stevenson, one of the best, this and that. This was not that. These are guys that are obviously still fighting, a lot less rounds. I don't know what it was, an 8-rounder. They're not the most like, it's not like we're watching Abdullah Mason, one of the probably the best prospects. But I think for the level that they're at right now, as they're developing, it was a perfect fight for each other. Obviously, they come from families that are very well known in boxing. Obviously, Ryan Garcia, Fernando, Emiliano, Papas, and AMADO, Ryan, Sean, all the stuff going on with Ryan, his dad. Everybody knows his mom and dad now. You know what I mean? It was perfect. Like it couldn't have been a better matchup. They're two guys that they can sell a fight. You know what I mean? Like they're talking. They're you know what I mean. But obviously, it was at a certain level. You know what I mean? We're not in there watching. Like I'm saying, Abdullah Mason and the top prospects. But for where they're at right now in their career, it was perfect, man. It was a really, really like entertaining fight. And that's all you can ask for from guys, on their way up and stuff, taking fights like this. It was cool, man. It was cool to see. It was cool to see AMADO win the way him, Fernando, and Emiliano was in the background crying. Like the way they reacted to it, you could tell it meant a lot to them. And it's nice seeing that. It's good for them. It's good. Like, obviously Emiliano's the guy that everybody says it. That's the kid that's like special in boxing and this and that. But to see one of the other ones in a big spot like that, and and get a good win like that, it's cool to see, man. It honestly is. And Fernando, you can tell Fernando fucking loves it. He loves being around boxing, and now being a trainer is probably he's probably having more fun than when he was a fighter. Like you've said that before, that you had more fun as a trainer than as a fighter. So I'm sure Fernando's loving it, and he's having the time of his life with his kids and shit. So it was cool to see. Obviously us knowing Fernando and stuff. So it was good.
It was satisfying too, because the way Sean was promoting this fight, saying how he was gonna leave AMADO like his dad and posting pictures of his dad.
I mean, look, that's all stuff to sell the fight. I
know, but just
I know. But because of that, then it made it even more satisfying to see AMADO, beat him and stuff. And Sean, look, obviously that stuff is one thing, but he wasn't wrong about like where Sean was. Bam and Sean fought a few times in amateurs. I think Bam beat him like 2-3 times. But Sean was like, he had like a lot of amateur fights. He had like a big amateur background. He was a, multiple time, national champ. AMADO wasn't that. But, when we like going into the fight, like people would ask me like at the gym, what did I think about that fight? And I would say that I think AMADO's going to win. Like, I think AMADO's going to win. And, Sean might be like the more accomplished amateur and maybe the better fighter, you could say, like, if he took it serious, but that's not the case. AMADO was the one that's been fighting. He's been active. He might not be fighting, these top, ranked opponents and this and that yet, but he's fighting. He's constantly fighting. He's in the gym. He's training. You know, we know that for, you know, my grandpa talks to Fernando a lot. My grandpa talks to Fernando a lot. So a lot of the times, like when I'm my grandpa, Fernando will call, hey, you know, jefe, you know, Amado is doing this, that, you know, so we know he's training.
¿Cuántos le doy?
Exactly. He's training.
I don't think
Constantly training. Sean Garcia is not training. So that's the difference. Amado is taking it serious. He's taking it, you know, he's trying to get better and better. You know, we saw him switch southpaw. He fought southpaw for, you know, like 2-3 rounds. You know, unless I'm, you know, I can't remember, but I hadn't seen him do that. You know, so he's adding things, and you know, so you know, it was good. It's good to see that guy win. The guy that takes it serious, the guy that's at least training, not the, you know, guy that's kind of, you know, lazy and missed weight, and you know what I mean. So.
Alrighty, well, there you have it, guys. Thank you for tuning into this episode. Don't forget to like, subscribe, leave your comments below, and then don't forget to check out our last episode as well. See you guys next time.